right. Welcome to the 33rd Annual Maggie Awards ceremony. I'm Brianna Nobles, one of your conference co-chairs, and also I am a Sandra Chastain awardee, which is this little silver medallion I'm wearing right here. And by the end of this evening, you're gonna know why that's such an important title to me. Now, normally at this time, we would go on to our awards ceremony, but tonight is actually going to be a little bit different. Last week, we lost one of our founding members, Sandra Chastain, and we would like you to take a moment with us to say goodbye. At this time, I would like to invite Georgia Romance Writers President and fellow Sandra Chastain awardee, Pam Montavani, to the stage.
Yeah, that's two people who told me I've got this, and they couldn't be more wrong. Okay, please bear with me. We're here tonight to celebrate the Maggie Award of Excellence. There would be no Maggie Award of Excellence without Sandra Chastain. There would be no Moonlight Magnolias without Sandra Chastain. There would be no Georgia Romance Writers without Sandra Chastain. Just about everything I know about professionalism in this business, about serving the members of GRW, along with the attendees of every M&M I have been privileged to attend, I have learned from Sandra Chastain, along with Nancy Knight. On behalf of Georgia Romance Writers, let me express to Sandra's family our sincere sympathy, along with our thanks for sharing her with us. I hope you find comfort in the knowledge that as you look around this room, you see traces of your mother's wit, her incredible warmth, her dedication, and her abiding love for her fellow authors. Sorry. Now, a little bit of good news, maybe. On behalf of Deborah Dixon, who is President and CEO of Bell Bridge Books, along with Deborah Smith, who is Vice President and Editorial Director, I announce the Sandra Chastain Publishing Award. The winner will receive a contract offer in advance, will be published in print and ebook format by Bell Bridge Books. In honor of Sandra's mission to encourage and mentor new writers, this award will be open to members of Georgia Romance Writers who are unpublished as of March 1st, 2017, which will be the deadline for entries. Bell Books has defined unpublished as not under a traditional publishing contract to an advance-paying publisher. Authors who have self-published only are qualified to participate. All entries will be due by December 30th, 2016. Bell Bridge will select 3 finalists who must then produce the finished manuscript no later than March 1st, 2017. The winner of the contract offer will be announced in April 2017. All genres are welcome except for nonfiction, and their top 5 preferences are romance, including romance erotica, fantasy and futuristic, suspense and mystery, paranormal, steampunk, or alternative reality. All questions and submissions will be directed to Deb Smith, and I have her email for anybody who might want that. Many of you don't know, never had the privilege of meeting Sandra, and that's your loss, quite frankly. Sandra was a genuine Southern lady, and as much as we love Nancy, and I spoke to Nancy earlier about this, that I don't want to slight her in any way, But let me just say that Sandra Chastain was, and always will be Georgia romance writers. And it is now, Nancy, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Y'all see my shoes? I figure I have to either be comfortable or happy. And since I'm not happy, I'm going to be comfortable. How many of you in this room actually knew Sandra? You are certainly fortunate. We all are. And Pam was telling the truth. We would not be here if it weren't for Sandra. I want to read a quote to you, and if you've ever taken a class from me, you're familiar with this. Sarah played the beam of her flashlight back and forth through the dark apartment until she found the half-naked man handcuffed to the brass bedpost. That is the opening sentence to Sandra's book, Silver Bracelets. It is my contention that that was the best sentence she ever wrote. The best first sentence. Sandra and I had many arguments about that. Her favorite first sentence was, the first time he saw her, she was naked. All right, who thinks the first one's better? Raise your hand. Okay, who thinks the second one's better? I told you, Sandra. And I have a list of what I think are near perfect first sentences that I teach when I teach classes, and this one is on here. The nearly naked one, the first time he saw her, she was naked, is from The Judge and the Gypsy. If you have not read a Sandra Chastain novel, go to Amazon and download one onto your Kindle now. Do it today or tomorrow. You will be amazed. I have to put my glasses on. I went to the RWA conference in Boston several years ago with, I flew up and I drove back with Sandra and Pepper. It was planned that way. They couldn't stand to have me along both directions, so I only got to ride back with them instead of going both ways. The problem was we shared a room, and all of us snore. So it was who got the best sleep that night was the one that got to sleep first. And that was always Sandra. And Pepper would be there in the bed with her, and he'd be watching Johnny Carson like this and listening to her snore, and I would be watching Johnny Carson, and then I would nod off to sleep, and then there would Pepper be with two snoring women. However, I have to get up during the middle of the night to go to the ladies' room, and then I would come back and glare at them for 30 or 40 minutes until I could get back to sleep because both of them snore. That first line I read to you is an example of a perfect opening sentence, and Sandra was a master of that. You know, she worked so hard to craft that first sentence to make it something that would pull you into the book. How could you not want to read on if you read Sarah played the beam of her flashlight until she found the half-naked man handcuffed to the brass bedpost? How could you put that book down? You cannot. So, first of all, the object of an opening sentence is to pull the reader in. So your questions would be, well, who is that man? Number two, who handcuffed him to the bedpost? And then the next most obvious question is, which half of him was naked? All of her books were like that. From that very first sentence, she hooked her readers. She wrote 53 novels, most of which were category contemporary romance, and she did some historicals, and she did one very excellent mainstream novel that she wrote with me. She co-wrote with me, called The Very Best. Sandra loved conferences because she met so many great people at conferences. And she would be here, and she would pick out somebody, and you would be her person to question for the night, or for her person to talk to. And before 5 minutes were over, you would be best friends with Sandra. She would make you think you were her very best friend. She had that quality. She would draw you out and find out what made you tick. She just had that amazing quality. I never heard her say no to a writer who needed help. In fact, I never heard her say no to anybody that needed help. And Mary, I'm gonna embarrass you. A few years ago, one of our members passed away. She left a 15-year-old daughter who had no way to get to her father, who was estranged from her mother in the worst kind of way. He lived in Texas. The child had no way to get there, no money to get there. Sandra very quietly asked Mary to take that girl to Texas. So Mary very bravely drove from Atlanta to, was it Dallas or close? San Antonio, with a 15-year-old child who was not her own and who had just lost her mom. And Sandra paid all of the expenses and made sure that that girl got to her dad. She was one of the most generous people I ever knew. And I don't just mean with her time, but money too. I wish I could just take you on this magic tour through my memories, and you could all laugh with me at those good times, and you could cry at the bad times, because we had some bad times too. On a really cold winter day in the early 80s, I believe it was 82, 9 women met at Shannon Harper's home to discuss starting a Romance Writers of America chapter. Sandra was one of those people. Fortunately, I was too. But that was the day I met the woman who would become my best friend. And I don't know whether you know it or not, but she was really your best friend too. Without her, we wouldn't be here. Marion Collins was technically our first president. She was our organizational president, but within a couple of months, we held elections, and Sandra was very rightly elected. She was overwhelmingly the choice of everybody who knew her. She served 2 separate terms of 2 years each. I think she is the only president who has been president 2 separate times. That first year, Marion went to Dallas for the second RWA conference, and she came back and said, you know what, some girls in the other chapters are starting to have regional conferences. Why don't we do that? So, that suggestion, Sandra just took it and ran with it. This was in June, when the RWA conference is. So between June and October, we planned a conference. Had no money, zero money. So Sandra put all our expenses on her credit card. She said if we didn't make the money back, we'd have to hold a bake sale. Now, for those of you who know Sandra, she was not much of a baker. She did have a really good coconut cake recipe. I'll give her that. If I bake it, you can bust a window with it, so I'm not going to do anything for a bake sale. Marion Collins was not a baker, neither were Shannon Harper and Donna Ball. Marlene Anderson, the only thing I know of that she could cook was ramen noodles. And nobody wants that at a bake sale, right? Eleanor Robbins would say, let's just go get a pizza. And Ellen Bost ran a bookstore, but she never had time to cook. So face it, if this conference didn't make money, we were all in deep doo-doo, you know what I'm saying? Then the question arose, what should we call the conference? Other people were saying the Northeast Conference or whatever the name of their chapter was, but we wanted ours to be special. Marion's daughter was an event planner, and she found this wonderful photograph. It was a silhouette, and it was of a man and a woman kissing beneath a magnolia tree, and so Since we are in Georgia, people said we would call it the Magnolia Conference, and other people said, well, you know, there's the moon, let's call it Moonlight. And I said, let's call it Moonlight Magnolias, and so that's how we got our name. Sandra was the driving force behind that conference. She decided that we needed to have editors and agents here. So we elected Marion Collins to call, since she had just come from RWA and had a bunch of cards in her hand from editors, agents, and other writers. We elected Marion to make those phone calls. I can't tell you how many editors and agents came and published writers, but Marion's phone bill was $750. That's a lot of cake, I gotta tell you. And Roberta Gellis was our keynote speaker. We thought that a connection with a college would help us out, so we talked to the people Sandra talked to the people at Oglethorpe, and they agreed to put us in their continuing ed program. And Sandra said, well, we want some of the money you make. And the lady just smiled, you know, condescendingly down her glasses at Sandra and said, continuing ed classes never make money. Sandra says, ours will. And so the woman sort of humored Sandra and says, well, okay. We did make money. About 2 months later, we got a check in the mail for $1,500, which was half of their profit. Of course, half of that went to Marion's phone bill, or else Marion and Bob would have ended up divorced, I'm sure. You know, Sandra had so many good qualities, but she could not tell a joke. She did not have a really good sense of humor. And I was telling Lynn a while ago that if Lynn told Sandra a joke and Sandra turned to me immediately and started to tell a joke, she would always forget the punchline. She never could tell a joke, but her books were full of humor. It was just, she had a quality that she just never recognized. And sometimes Pepper, that her dear sweet husband, would tell a joke and Sandra would go, and he would go, you know, she just couldn't do it. Well, at some point, Sandra and I decided we would write a book together. And we got an agent. And she called me one day and she said, you know, I have an editor who is looking for a specific type of book. She's going to do 12 books, and she has 11 of them. I have until Tuesday to get a proposal from you and Sandra on her desk. So she said, this was Thursday, and she said, can you do that? And I said, well, of course we can. And I called Sandra and I said, Adele is sending us some information about a line. We've got to get together this weekend and write a proposal. So Sandra worked until noon on Saturday at her husband's veterinary clinic. So when she got off work, I was there. I had fixed Pepper's lunch, taken care of him, and Sandra and I sat down and we wrote 3 proposals in about 35, 36 hours. The proposals had to be 30 pages long and have a 1-page synopsis. I left her house at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. My husband spell checked, and it was a big deal back then. You had to put in a separate disc for spell checker. This was back in the dark ages. And he spell checked it, printed it out, and overnighted it to Adele, and she hand carried it the next day on Tuesday to the editor, and on Thursday she called and she said, the editor wants you to write this book. They're going to buy it. So, you know, lightning does strike occasionally. That was in the middle of May, and we had until the end of August to write a 100,000-word book. So we did. And in the opening sentence of that proposal, I'm going to read you the first paragraph, because as I said, Sandra believed in a really good opening, so we worked on this really, really hard. Valerie Ray Turner walked out of the church from her husband's funeral with 2 men. The man on her right arm was her lover. The man on her left arm was her husband's lover. That is why we sold that book. Later on in the editorial process, that got kind of moved down, but it certainly got the editor's attention. From there, Sandra went on and she wrote 53 novels, short contemporary and historical. But about that same time, Sandra, Donna, Shannon, Marion, and I started a critique group. And we met 4 weekends a year for the whole weekend, and we critiqued each other's stuff. Everybody was published except Sandra and me. And by the end of that year, of course, we had sold our first book. Shannon moved away, and Marion got critically ill, so we were 2 people short. So we invited Deborah Smith and Virginia Ellis to round us out again. And within another year or so, Deborah Dixon joined us. Now you can see where this is going, right? So we decided we would all go to Dragon Con. In '98, that was my first year, I believe, as director of Writers Track at Dragon Con, and I wanted some people on those panels who knew how to write. So I wanted Deb and Jen and Sandra and Donna. Well, Sandra was on a panel with 4 men. They were all, they were all very well-respected science fiction and fantasy writers. And then there was Sandra with her beautiful southern smile and those twinkly blue eyes. And she's sitting there, and these men are totally ignoring her. And finally, she just piped up and answered a question. And the biggest snob on the panel looked at, and he has never been on a panel in Writers Track since. I would not let him, I told him I'm not going to have him anymore. He looked down his nose at her and he says, "I've published 10 novels, lady. What do you have backing you up?" And she just kind of smiled and she says, "I've done 35 novels." So he shut his mouth. And then the moderator began to divide the questions more fairly. At that Dragon Con, we fleshed out the idea for Bell Books. That was '98. In 2001, Sweet Tea and Jesus Shoes was published. Still in print today, and if you've been in one of my classes, you've heard me read Sandra's story, which was called The Jesus Shoes. I cry every time I read it, so I'm not going to read it to y'all. But it makes me cry, and it makes my class members cry. It's a wonderful story. And the thing about that book is the stories are all autobiographical in some way. So if you want to know a little bit more about Sandra, there are 2 stories in there that are very telling about Sandra. So Sweet Tea and Jesus Shoes might be something you'd want to order. That's the story. It's an anthology of girls growing up in the South. And her stories were just grounded in reality, anchored in that fascinating time period when we all grew up back in the dark ages, you remember? And she had the most beautiful, complex, compelling characters. You ought to read that. Today, Bell Bridge, Bell Books, and now Imagine, which Bell has acquired, are well-respected publishers of a variety of genres. And Sandra was a very large part of that success. Published writers from across the country counted Sandra as a good friend. I can't tell you how many already published writers, women on the Times list or whatever, would call her and say, "I'm having a problem, can you help me?" And Sandra never said no. If you were unpublished and you contacted her and said, "I have a problem," Sandra never said no. Her insight was absolutely amazing. So if she read something of yours, you knew that you were getting the best set of eyes to help you out. And my son Michael absolutely adored Sandra. One time at a GRW meeting, just after we had sold our first book that we wrote together, as Jenna Darcy, Mike was at that meeting with me. And at that time, when we had a GRW meeting, everybody stood up and said, "Hello, I'm so-and-so, and I write whatever." And so Sandra stood up and said, "I'm Sandra Chastain, and I'm Jenna Darcy." And I stood up and I said, "I'm Jenna Darcy." And then Mike stood up and he said, "I'm Jenna Darcy's son." And everybody kind of looked around and laughed, and finally somebody says, "Which one?" And he said, "Both of them." Former GRW member, or I guess she is a GRW member, Missy Tippins, said on Facebook in response to our postings about Sandra, "I'll forever remember her comment after reading my first or second manuscript. Sandra said, 'That's the best book I ever read that had absolutely no plot.'" And where are you, Missy? I don't want to embarrass you, but Missy worked with Sandra for a long time as an assistant, and Sandra adored her. I mean, who doesn't? And in response to some of the postings on Facebook, Shirley Halestock, do any of you know of her? She said, "I am so sorry to hear this. I thought about her the other day and wondered how she was doing. She always had warm words to say to me, and I treasured her friendship." Brenda Chin, who was an editor at Harlequin for a number of years and Sandra's editor, said, "Oh no, I loved Sandra. She was a great author and a wonderful friend. What a loss." Shauna Summers, who was one of Sandra's editors at one time, said, "What a great lady. I love working with her and will never forget Sandra Chastain and Nancy Knight taking me to the World of Coke Museum before M&M one year. Such great memories." Well, Shauna obviously doesn't have a really good memory because we took her 2 years. She loved Coca-Cola, and every time she came to Atlanta, she wanted to go to the Coke Museum. Patricia Rice, who is an author from North Carolina, said, "I'm so sorry. Sandra was the sweetest person alive, so the angels ought to welcome her with open arms. Hugs." Looking back over the last 30-plus years, I wonder how many published writers can actually say that Sandra gave them a boost when they needed it and they got published. And if you talk to a lot of published writers, particularly ones that knew her, I'll bet many of them would say, "Sandra turned something on in my mind when we talked, and the next time I sent out a proposal, it got bought." There are many. Nicole Jordan is one of those, and Deb Smith was one of those, actually. Alzheimer's took her from us too soon, but she loved Georgia romance writers, and when I would see her, she would say, "Well, what are they doing?" She remained devoted to you up until she wanted to know what was going on and who was doing what, and all sorts of questions she would ask about GRW. Proof positive that she thought a lot about you. She felt like a proud mother, and when she spoke about GRW, a glow would light her face. And I know you girls, Lynn and Karen and Kim, where's Kim? Oh, and Kim on the floor over here. They would tell you the same thing. If they mentioned GRW, her face would just light up. It was so much a part of her life. I cannot imagine her without GRW in her life. I can't imagine my life without her. She was a proud mother, and that's what she is today. If you need a muse, if you need an angel on your shoulder, pick Sandra. It's been. GRW is today what it is because of her. I hope you realize what a gift we were given when Sandra walked into that first meeting at Shannon's. None of us will ever forget her. Her legacy lives on.
I didn't wear eyeliner for this. So I want to get one thing right straight, Nancy. You said you planned the very first M&M between June and October?
And made money.
If you have, if you've ever planned this conference, will you stand up, please? Ladies, she beat us. I will say I did get the pleasure to meet Sandra quite a few times, and we've got to talk, and she was like this really quiet person in the corner, and most people probably did not realize what an impact she made, because she didn't care if you knew. She was just there. And there's one thing I can tell you for certain. She's probably looking down on this right now going, "Isn't this a party? Let's get to the awards." So, in honor of Sandra, this night is devoted to you, and I am inviting Jenny Lynn to the stage. She is my other co-chair, who is probably in just as much disbelief in 4 months.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody. Yes, the first time I met Sandra was the first meeting that I was drugged to by Maggie Worth. And first thing Sandra did to me before I even got my first cup of coffee was, "Darling, who are you and what do you write?" Immediately I knew I was in a sisterhood. And I thank every single one of you for being one of those I could reach out to. I really honor you. I also want to thank our committee. I couldn't have done all this without you. There's no way. I wouldn't have had it. Every single bit of my committee, the board, Pam, thanks for honoring me with this, and Noelle, thanks for the knowledge. And we're also thanking Kevin Hill for doing our live feed here. This is a moment for us that we're going to be able to share forever in Sandra's memory. So just wanted to thank everybody.
Yeah, our first ever live feed done by one of our GRW husbands. And I've coined a new term, and I want to share it with you. And it's called a conference husband. Now, we have some husbands here right now, and I'm very happy to see you, but it takes special gumption to be a conference husband. And I'm not going to call them out because I don't want to miss one. But I saw quite a few of them this week, or weekend. Feels like a week. But a conference husband, this is my definition, and we gotta let everybody know about this, is a husband who comes to a romance writing conference to make the conference better for his wife. There have been husbands lugging books for their wives, making sure the projectors work, and just kind of running around. And they're not even part of the conference. They're just here to make it better for them, and in turn, better for us. So I want a huge round of applause for the conference husbands. You are a very rare breed. And now I'm swinging this show over to the beautiful Christina Crane, your Maggie Awards chair.
Wow. All right, make sure it can work from here. Okay. All right. So first up, we have the Nancy Knight Mentorship Award. I know who she is. I have Diana Shuford. I said Shuford. Oh. Sorry. There was a little burp. I'm sorry. It's Diana Shuford.
I'm not offended. My name is mispronounced all the time. If they don't mispronounce the first one, they mispronounce the second one. So I think Sandra would all join us when we take the time to honor Nancy Knight, which is also a founding mother. And so the Pro developed this award. The Pro group developed this award specifically to honor her because she was constantly helping unpublished writers in any way she could. So the unpublished writers within the Georgia Romance Writers Organization have been blessed to find the high level of support and encouragement from the group's published authors. To honor those authors willing to lend a helping hand to those still trying to find a home for their words, the Nancy Knight Mentorship Award was established. Those chosen to receive this award have gone above and beyond expectations in an effort to mentor unpublished GRW members toward successful publication goals. This award is given in the spirit of GRW's founding member, Nancy Knight, who has given generously of her time over many years to mentor countless GRW members. And the distinctive dragonfly pendant has been created specifically for the recipient of this award. Following Nancy's example, a recipient will encourage unpublished authors through a variety of ways, such as answering emails, presenting workshops, judging the unpublished Maggie Awards, offering one-on-one critiques, participating in the Jen Ellis workshop, and participating in GRW's monthly gatherings. A published author may only receive this award once, but the honor and appreciation of the recipient's efforts will remain timeless. A committee selected from the pro community, co-chaired by the pro liaison and the pan liaison, are assembled after nominations are held through the general membership. Once it is determined that a nominee has met the criteria for the award committee considers the past deeds of each published author and votes anonymously to recognize a GRW author who has made the greatest impact on those unpublished members who seek to push toward their dream of publication. Would the past winners of this award who are present tonight please stand as I read your name? Nancy Knight in 2009. Haywood Smith in 2010. Sandra Chastain, and posthumously awarded to Virginia Renfro Ellis in 2011. Berta Plattis in 2012. Debbie Giusti in 2013. Jana Oliver and Tanya Michaels in 2014. And Susan Carlisle in 2015. At this time, Susan will come forward to present this year's Nancy Knight Mentorship Award.
I'm in good company with those ladies that stood up. This year's winner is well known within the Georgia Romance Writers family. She has critiqued during the Jen Ellis workshop, been a judge for the Maggie contest more than once, has offered advice face-to-face as well as by email to the unpublished writers about agents in the publishing industry. She never fails to make introductions of herself or others to new members, and has been known to share a taxi at nationals with a random RWA person who looks lost. Most of all, she is someone that I admire and as a person and as a professional. I'm honored as last year's Nancy Knight Mentorship Award winner to announce that the 2016 Nancy Knight Mentorship Award goes to Sally Kilpatrick. Sally is off creating her own romance in Paris.
Next up, we have the Sandra Chastain Award, and that will be Anna Steffel.
presenting the Sandra Chastain Volunteer Service Award, or the Sandra as we all affectionately call it, is truly bittersweet this year. Bitter because we lost Sandra. Y'all noticed that she dedicated her whole life, to GRW. Not just as an organization, but to nurturing so many people here in this very room. I mean, I couldn't write a synopsis for the life of me in, 5 minutes with Sandra, and all of a sudden this light bulb goes off in your head and you can write a synopsis. And, even just, as recent as 2011, she received the Nancy Knight Award. So it's continuous involvement, and that's what this award is. But it's also a sweet night tonight because I know Sandra will be really proud of the 2 newest award winners. Short-term hard work doesn't earn the award, but rather a body of work over a long period of time accompanied by an enduring love of GRW. Like Sandra, our 2 winners tonight didn't volunteer their time to be in the spotlight. They gave countless hours at essential but too often thankless tasks out of sheer love for their fellow writers in this organization. One author has been a greeter coordinator, an M&M volunteer coordinator, M&M book fair coordinator, judge for the Maggies, mentor for the Jen Ellis Workshop, winner of the Chapter Service Award, and also I think maybe a Nancy Knight Award winner. She's also presented numerous workshops and in general has been a great ambassador of GRW in venues both local and national. And our other new Sandra has been a greeter coordinator, Maggie committee member, Maggie co-chair, a behind-the-scenes orchestrator of numerous GRW events, and a current board member as our treasurer. She even plays award music during meetings for people getting pinned, which always earns a laugh, because she just wants everyone to feel special. Congratulations and thank you to Susan May Carlisle, and B. Snow. Yes, you do.
I like to talk, so y'all just may have to put up with me and Nancy tonight. When I joined GRW, I sat out there like most everybody does, and you think, oh, those people, they work and they work and they work and they work. And I did what and do what I do because it's a wonderful way to meet people. If you work and you volunteer and serve, that's a great way to get to know people. It's easy to come and sit and never speak to anyone and just soak up the knowledge, but to really get to know people. My story of Sandra is pretty much like everybody else's. She pinned you to the wall and said, "Who are you? And what are you writing? And what are you going to do?" And I'm truly honored, and I still have it tucked away in the filing cabinet because I'm old school and have paper in my house. A critique by Sandra. And I'm pretty sure that it will always be in a filing cabinet that I can pull out. But I do remember that, and I promise you, I'm the queen of hideous critiques. I had one lady, he said, are you possibly speak another language as a first thing? And which I guess I sent it to California, so my Southern, they probably did think I spoke another language. But Sandra gave me a wonderful critique, and it really made me think, you know, I can do this. I can really make it work, and I hope that I can leave a legacy as wonderful as what she had, and to receive this year under these circumstances, it's even a bigger honor. And when I call my husband and tell him I'm almost cried, he'll go, "What?" Because I don't cry at anything. I save those up for when your kid's almost dying. And so, you know, he knows it means a lot to me if I would shed a tear. And thank you, and I'm very, very honored. And thank you, Sandra's family.
All of you know how much I love speaking in public. I think you should be a member of Georgia Romance Writers a lot longer before you get one of these, but thank you very much. I don't really volunteer for stuff. Brianna says, "We need you to do this," and I go, "Okay." She says, "Do this thing," I go, "Okay." So I just do what Brianna tells me. I do have a Sandra story. I met her at at Dragon Con at the writer's track, and I knew she was a founding member of GRW, and some of you have heard me tell this story before because it's awesome. So again, Brianna's like, "You should go to M&M. It's this writer's conference. You should want to write romance. You should come." And I was very on the fence, and so I was talking to Sandra at the writer's track, and I said, "You know, Brianna wants me to go, but I don't know if I should go." And she said, "Why wouldn't you go?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "Because I write crap." And she looked at me, and I'm like, "Oh, I said crap in front of this sweet older Southern lady." And she just looks at me like confused, and she says, "We all write crap." And I'm like, "But?" And she says, "But then we learn, and we practice, and we get better." And it's so obvious, but it's just like bing, like light bulb thing. Bing, and I'm like, maybe I can do this after all. So, thank you.
Hey, you guys ready? All right. So I'm the Maggie Chair, and I'm Christina Crane. And I was a 2014 finalist for the Unpublished, and it was the highest honor. And what I discovered is there are a lot of people who are working behind the scenes to make that happen. And right now I'd like to say thank you to the Maggie Committee. If you would please stand. And then because I'm a lobbyist and I really like the Maggies, I'm going to go a little bit further. And I'm going to say, if you are a judge for the Maggies, would you please stand? Thank you. Now, if you are a past or present Maggie finalist, would you please stand? I've had several careers over my lifetime, but I've never come across another profession that gives so much of its own time and energy and positive vibe to help other people who are competitors, as well as becoming very good friends. And that's what this is, the Maggies. So without further ado, we have our published finalists. Contemporary short romance. Marie Long. For Scarred. Self-published, Laura Coons, editor. Pam Montavani. Courting the Coach, Wild Rose Press, Elida Mackenzie, editor. Tanya Michaels, If She Dares, Harlequin Blaze, Johanna Raisin, editor. Kat Shield, Royal Heirs Required, Harlequin, Charles Grossman, editor. Rula Sonara, After the Silence, Harlequin Heartwarming, Victoria Karan and Claire Caldwell, editors. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Contemporary Short Romance goes to Marie Long for Scarred.
I really have no speech because I had no idea this is crazy, oh my gosh. Thank you everyone. First, thank you to my Heavenly Father because this would not have happened without him. And thank you to my parents for being supportive of me. Thank you to my FCRW group for being awesome. And thank you to all the readers that have read my book and chosen. Thank you guys, thank you to the Georgia romance writers, thank you guys, thank you.
Contemporary single title romance. Kimberly Keys, Lover's Leap, The Wild Rose Press, Cindy Davis, editor. Barbara Longley, The Twisted Road to You, Montlake Romance, Jo Van Sotek, editor. Renee Lovins, Glass Hearts, Badash Publishing, Erica Ellis, editor. Stacey A. Purcell, Echoes of the Heart, Burroughs Publishing, Michelle Clayman, editor. Suzanne Rossi, The Good Twin, The Wild Rose Press, Johanna Malagarno, editor. And the 2016 Maggie goes to Suzanne Rossi for The Good Twin.
Right now, my daughter-in-law is watching this streaming live, and she is probably jumping up and down and screaming louder than I did. I cannot begin to thank you all enough. This is such an honor. I can't even, I'm a writer and I can't describe it. Special thanks to my wonderful editor, Johanna Malagarno, because this was the last book that she edited for me. And to my publisher, the Wild Rose Press. They're all wonderful, wonderful people, as is every member of Georgia Romance Writers. Thank you so much.
Next up is historical romance. Linda Brode, Texas Mail Order Bride, Source Books, Marie Altman, editor. Carolyn Carey, A Simple Lady, self-published, Carolyn Carey, editor. Pamela Ford, To Ride a White Horse, Ain Press, Pamela Ford, editor. Anna Harrington, Dukes Are Forever, Forever, Michelle Beidelsbach, editor. Joanne Shoup, The Lady Hellion, Kensington, Peter Suffenben, editor. And the 2016 award for historical romance goes to, well, we have a tie. Did you like that pregnant pause? So in alphabetical order, we have Carolyn Carey for A Simple Lady.
Obviously, I'm not Carolyn. I'm a friend of hers, and I'm just so thrilled for her. She finaled in the Golden Heart 3 times and never won. This is fabulous. Thank you all.
And now the suspense. Who's the second? Anna Harrington for Dukes Are Forever. I guess we'll move on. So we have inspirational romance. Tamara Alexander, To Win Her Favor, HarperCollins Christian Publishers, L.B. Norton and Amy McConnell, editors. Eva Marie Everson, 5 Brides, Tyndale House Publishers, Jan Staub, editor. Ruth Logan Hearn, Refuge of the Heart, Franciscan Media, publisher. Katie Carroll and Erica McIntyre, editors. Christy Ann Hunter, A Noble Masquerade, Bethany House Publishers, Rayla Schoner, editor. Carrie Turansky, A Refuge at Highland Hall, Waterbrook Malthall, Penguin Random House, Shannon Marchese, editor. Becky Wade, A Love Like Ours, Bethany House Publishers, Charlene Pattison and Rayla Shohern, editors. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Inspirational Romance goes to Ruth Logan Hearn for A Refuge of the Heart.
I'm Debbie Giusti, and I have the honor of accepting for Ruth Logan Hearn. Ruth sent a few words. First, let me say I'm over the moon with this, and you guys that know me know the first person I'm going to thank is God for the amazing gift and the crazy, wonderful opportunities He set before me. Without Him, without my faith, Debbie wouldn't be standing here right now, so to Him goes the glory, first, last, and always. And I'd especially like to thank Georgia Romance writers, the Maggie coordinators, and all of the judges. Having coordinated contests in the past and judged dozens, I understand the sacrifice of time and the dedication to a job well done that a strong contest entails. Thank you for making that sacrifice for authors. When I name an example of great RWA chapters, GRW tops the list. And that means you guys are doing not only something right, but doing it repeatedly. May God bless you in your journeys. I'd also like to thank my wonderful agent, Natasha Kern, for her insight, and Franciscan Media and Erica McIntyre for their enthusiasm over this poignant story of one woman's quest for healing and freedom. Thank you so much for the chance and the joy of sharing this story, Refuge of the Heart, with you. Thank you all on behalf of Ruthie.
Next up, we have novel with strong romantic elements. Jolene Cazzola, Love's Illusions, self-published, Paul Simpson, editor. Normandy Fisher, Heavy Weather, Sleepy Creek Press, Ray Ramy, and Robin Patchen, editors. Deanne Gist, Tiffany Girl, publisher Simon & Schuster Howard, Beth Adams, editor. Keishan Paul, The Second Wife, self-published, Tara Tuscadin Norris, editor. Robert Claypool White, The Perfect Son, Lake Union Publishing, Jody Warsaw, editor. And the 2016 Maggie Award goes to, are you ready? Jolene Cazzola for Love's Illusions.
I'm going to imitate you, Marie. I'm in total shock. I never expected this. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, I'm tongue-tied. It's a duplicate. Just repay Marie's. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. It's inside, and there aren't any words. There aren't any words. Thank you.
Next up is paranormal fantasy romance. Kara Crescent, The Last Marine, Kara Crescent Books, Dory O'Brien, editor. Deborah Jess, Lead Surfer, Deborah Jess Corp, Deborah Doyle, editor. Barbara Longley, The Highlands Folly, Montlake Romance, Joe Van Sotek, editor. Mary Morgan, Dragon's Knight's Axe, The Wild Rose Press, Amanda Barnett, editor. Nadine Mutis, Blood, Pain, and Pleasure, self-published, Bev Katz Rosenbaum, editor. And the 2016 Maggie Award goes to Nadine Mutis for Blood, Pain, and Pleasure. Next up is the romantic novella. And I'm going to take a second and say, this is the first year for this category for us. And it was a wonderful category in the published. We had lots of entries. We didn't do so well in the unpublished, but that's okay. Izzy James, The Christmas Gift, self-published, Ann L. McIntosh, editor. Sierra Knight, Adelaide Bride of Maryland, Defy the Dark Publishing, Cora Arts, and Emily Sewell, editors. And Thea Lawson, A Duke for Midwinter, self-published, and Thea Lawson, editor. Carrie Fansett Pagels, The Substitute Bride, Hearts Overcoming Press, Neriel Living, editor. Aubrey Wynn, Dante's Gift, Plato Publishing, Sherry Mary, editor. And the 2016 Maggie Award goes to Izzy James, The Christmas Gift.
So, I just thank you so very much, and I have to say thank you to the Lord of Heaven, who has never left me alone, and I thank you to my Jim, and thank you to my mom, because the three of them have always believed in me. So, I thank you.
Young adult romance. Heather McCollum, Broken. Self-published, Holly Westring, editor. Jana Oliver, Mind Games. Nevermore Books. Catherine Hines and Molly Traver, editors. Amy Patrick, Hidden Deep. Oxford South Press. Judy Roth, editor. Jessica Ruddick, Letting Go, Entangled, Alicia Tornetta, editor. Anthea Sharp, Marnie, Faygood Book 3, self-published, Anthea Sharp, editor. And the 2016 Maggie goes to Jana Oliver, for Mind Games.
I am not Jana Oliver, but she is my bestest friend, and I met her through writing. And she sent me a script to read to you, including actions in parentheses. So I am now supposed to say, yes, fist pump. Well, now this is a surprise. Teaches me to take off to New Orleans over Eminem. Mind Games has a great team behind the scenes. My editors, Catherine Hines, who's with us tonight, and Molly Traver, both pushed me to make this story better, to ensure it was worthy addition to Demon Trapper's series. My cover artist, the ever-talented Clarissa, did her special magic once again. Thank you so much, ladies. I also want to thank Georgia Romance Writers for all the good folks involved with the Maggie Awards and with our organization. Your efforts to support the romance genre are invaluable. Now, here's hoping Tyra, that's me, will tweet me this good news as soon as possible. Since I'm in the Big Easy, I'm willing to bet I might be able to find an adult beverage or two to celebrate with. Jana, I'll be finding my own to celebrate for you. Thank you.
So that concludes the published Maggies. And now we have the unpublished Maggies. Our Maggie finalists for the contemporary short romance are Erin Barrett, The Making of Marnie Jones. Kimberly McCarran, What Would Ginger Do? Kimberly McCarran, Love in the Time of Ebola. Carrie Nichols, Rescuing Riley. Becky Turner, Jamestown Homecoming. Honorable mention, Aaron Barrett, The Making of Marnie Jones. Honorable mention, Kimberly McCarran, Love in the Time of Ebola. Come on. Yep. Third place, Becky Turner, Jamestown Homecoming.
Put that up there so we can trip right.
Second place, Kimberly McCarran, What Would Ginger Do? And the Maggie Award for Contemporary Short Romance goes to Carrie Nichols for Rescuing Riley.
Wow. Thank you. I want to thank GRW, all the Maggie coordinators and judges, and those of GRW who believed in me, Kim Turner, Sherry Morgan, and for my Gin Ellis mentors, Susan Carlisle, Tanya Michaels, and Sally Kilpatrick. Thank you.
Next up, we have the Contemporary Single Title Romance. Lauren James, Animal Instincts. Shauna Kelly, Welcome Home, Katie Gallagher. Marsha Levinson, Trial Run. Nancy Stopper, One Last Risk. Becky Turner for Murphy's Secret. Honorable mention goes to Nancy Stopper for One Last Risk. Honorable mention goes to Shauna Kelly for Welcome Home, Katie Gallagher. Third place goes to Becky Turner for Murphy's Secret. Second place goes to Marsha Levinson for Trial Run. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Contemporary Single Title goes to Lauren James for Animal Instincts. Next up is Historical Romance. Kate Belly, Thief of My Love. Janine Englert, Love's Whisper. Marsha Levinson, The Duke's Seduction. Ella Swift for Beloved Muse. Lisa Marie Wilkinson for The Red Parrot. Honorable mention goes to Ella Swift for Beloved Muse. Honorable mention goes to Marcia Levinson for The Duke's Seduction. Third place goes to Kate Belly for Thief of My Love. Second place goes to Lisa Marie Wilkinson, The Red Parrot. Gee, I wonder who won. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Historical Romance goes to none other than Janine Engler for Love's Whisper.
I didn't really prepare anything because I saw the other people in my category and I thought there's no way I'm gonna win. But just as a quick thank you to everybody in this room, because writers make other writers and I wouldn't be here without all of you, so big hug to everyone. And you may have heard Tanya over here, my critique partner, who I love and adore, and without her I wouldn't be here. She's literally the hardest working partner I've ever met, because she was critiquing in between the book signing and now, something that I had written. So I just want to thank you for that, Tanya. And my husband, who is not here because he was kayaking, but I love and adore him, and he loves me even when I do crazy things like watch 7 episodes of Forged in Fire so I could figure out what blacksmiths really do. So thank you again.
Next up, we have Inspirational Romance. Tanya Agler, A Degree of Hope. Angela Arndt, The Beekeeper's Daughter. Deb Garland, Laundress by Day. Michelle Morris, Honorable Intentions. Joanna Davidson Polatano, Lady Jane Disappears. Honorable mention goes to Deb Garland for Laundress by Day. Honorable mention goes to Tanya Agler, A Degree of Hope. Third place goes to Angela Arndt, The Beekeeper's Daughter. Second place goes to Michelle Morris, Honorable Intentions. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Inspirational Romance goes to Joanna Davidson Polatano for Lady Jane Disappears. Next up is Novel with Strong Romantic Elements. And I'm going to make a confession. 2 of my critique partners are finalists in this category. So I'm going to get a little verklempt. Okay, here we go. Elizabeth Bell, Necessary Sins. Abby Gaines, A Town Called Hope. Jessie Starr, So This Is Love. Tara Weiss, Wing Mom. Jean Willett, Island of Roses. Grace Winter, writing as Gigi Winter, Free Falling. Honorable mention goes to Abby Gaines, A Town Called Hope. Honorable mention goes to Grace Winter, writing as Gigi Winter, Free Falling. Honorable mention goes to Tara Weiss, Wig Mom. Third place goes to Jessie Starr, So This Is Love. Second place goes to Elizabeth Bell, Necessary Sins. And the 2016 Maggie Award for a novel with strong romantic elements goes to Jean Willett for Island of Roses.
Hello. Lost my voice from this talking all week. A really special thank goes out to Nikki Salcedo, who read it and said, "Girl, you're in the wrong category. You need to shape up." Thank you so much to GRW. I've been a member a long time. I'm also a previous Maggie winner, and so they have a special place in my heart. Jenny McQuiston gave such a wonderful speech of motivation, and she had this picture of a truck with the tires, and I feel like this just put air in my tires, and the drive's going to keep going. Thank you so much.
Paranormal Fantasy Romance. Susan Chapek, The Scarlet Mantle. Vaughn Dickinson, When Virtue Met Vice. Brianna Nobles, Winter's Kiss. Shelley Pike, Blood Will Tell. Ashley Wade, Hellbound. Honorable mention goes to Susan Chapek, The Scarlet Mantle. Honorable mention goes to Shelley Pike, Blood Will Tell. Third place goes to Vaughn Dickinson, When Virtue Met Vice. Second place goes to Brianna Nobles, Winter's Kiss. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Paranormal Fantasy Romance goes to Ashley Wade for Hellbound.
Oh wow, this is awkward because I hate standing in front of people and large crowds make me nervous. So I'm kind of one of those what not to do people. This story's been 8 years in the making because I've had people tell me it offends them. And then I kind of joined GRW and I met people and they're like, bump what they think, do what you want to do. And I did. And so thank you, GRW, for all of that. And I want to thank my kids, Corey and Michaela, who leave me alone when I needed them to leave me alone, and who quit asking why we have salt and holy water all over the house because, paranoia. Thank you.
Okay, we're at Young Adult Romance. Laura Cumby, From Here to There. Jennifer Hawkins, False Start. Kimberly McCarran, Unmasked. Lana Pattinson, Mom, I Married a Highlander. T.L. Sumner, Between Never and Always. This is our last category, folks. Here we go. Honorable mention, Jennifer Hawkins, False Start. Honorable mention, Lana Pattinson, Mom, I Married a Highlander. Third place, Laura Cumby, From There to Here. Are you guys really worried now? Here we go. Second place, Kimberly McCarran, Unmasked. And the 2016 Maggie Award for Young Adult Romance goes to T.L. Sumner for Between Never and Always.
I did not prepare anything either. I want to thank GRW. I want to thank the Maggie coordinators and all the judges, especially the ones I've never thanked. And I just want to thank all the supportive people, especially my young adult friends who are here, and then my dragonfly buds, my mermaid buds, and then my local critique groups. I couldn't do this without all the support and the love. It takes a village to make a book, that's for sure. And I also, of course, have to thank my family, who are my biggest cheerleaders. So, thank you.
So, we want to give a special thanks to the editors, the booksellers, the librarians, and all the judges that really put forth their time and effort to make the Maggie so special. Thank you so much.